It's not the nicest of days today. It's kind of cloudy and cold. We have a big rain event coming in tonight, but I thought it might be fun to go out and take a look at some of the things that are in the shady front yard. Now we're facing north and we have a very, very large oak tree adding to the shade in this part of our garden. Now this corner gets a little bit more sun, and we'll come back to this. But I'll show you some of the things that we have in here. This is a lion's mane, Japanese maple. A very, very lovely tree. Now if you see sort of brown things hanging off of the plants, those are oak tassels, the flowers of the oak. And they're everywhere. Some lovely Siberian iris and a pleasant white azalea. Maybe 50% in bloom at this point, but looking lovely. And as we come down, we've got quite a bit of Siberian iris. Not all of it is in bloom. And the same thing with the astilbe. The plants are looking lovely, and there are plenty of buds on them, but they're not quite in bloom yet. What is blooming right now is the white gila, and this one is my Monet Purple Effect. I love that variegated foliage with the beautiful pink flowers. And behind it, there is some Siberian iris blooming. I think that's a lovely, lovely color combination together. Now this oak tree is huge. I can't put my arms halfway around it, so it's probably 6 feet in diameter at the base. Next to it, though, is one of my very favorite rhododendron. This is a Percy Wiseman. It starts out with these beautiful dark pink buds that then open up to a sort of peachy, corally colored flower that then ages to a very creamy, yellowish white flower. So you have multiple colors on it at the same time. And I think that it's just gorgeous. Underneath all of this is something that I just I really don't like. I wish I didn't have it, but once it's here, not much you can do. This is Lily of the Valley, and I did put this in my previous video called Garden Thugs. The good news is that in this area it is bordered by a sidewalk, so it can't go too far. But up above it, we have a summer snowflake viburnum. Now this is interesting. I always say that plants get bigger than you think they're going to get. This one I think was listed as 4 feet tall by 3 feet wide, and it is narrow, but it's got to be at least 12 feet tall. In the springtime, it puts out a beautiful flush of white flowers. But the charming thing about it is that it continues flushing out little flowers all throughout the season. Just not as big a flush as it does in the spring. Across the driveway, we have some more very, very nice azalea. And next to the azalea is some Coast Lakothaway with its beautiful white bellflowers. Coming around the corner, there's actually a little Kusa dogwood growing on the corner. Now I saw it here last year, I let it go. I'll be digging this out soon and planting it somewhere else, probably along the edge of the woods. Next to that is a beautiful viridis Japanese maple. It has this very, very finely cut leaf. And as pretty as it is in green, in the fall, the color is a brilliant orange. Gorgeous, gorgeous plant. And as we come around it, here is another Japanese maple. This is one that we're still not quite sure what it is. We found it at Home Depot. It was simply labeled green Japanese maple. But those leaves are so interesting. I knew that it was something special. It stayed very small, kind of a weeping effect, a weeping habit. And I think it looks absolutely lovely here. We put down some fresh bark mulch just this morning, and I think it looks really nice. It always makes the plants really stand out. Here is some helleri holly. This is golden helleri. And you can see how kind of a chartreusey gold color, greenish gold color, the new foliage is coming out. I think it looks really, really pretty with the weigela behind it. And of course, some of those Siberian iris in bloom. On the corner of the walkway is a Wilson rhododendron. These have very, very small flowers. It's loaded with buds right now. In fact, there's just one little tiny flower out. But what recommends this rhododendron for a landscape planting is that it does not get terribly tall. This one is maybe 4.5 feet tall, and it gets quite wide, but it's been here for 30 years. It also has a very beautiful leaf, very shiny, shiny green leaf. Now here we have a Gerard's fuchsia azalea that is done blooming. I'll show you what it looked like earlier in the season. And then of course, being a shady area, there's lots of hosta. We've also got a Nico blue hydrangea that is tucked into the corner here. It gets really next to no direct sunlight, but it blooms beautifully. I have not done the window boxes yet. We actually had temperatures around 70 for the last couple of weeks, but this week we're getting a high of 50 and a low of 40, and I just feel like it's a little bit too chilly and I don't want to stress my annuals. But you can see that the hosta are coming up beautifully. Here's Wee, that's one of my favorites. There's also some lovely royal fern in here. And I do have trouble with some heuchera coming back. I don't know if you have that same problem, but there are some varieties that do hang in there. Here's a beautiful June hosta. Again, one of my favorites. I love that variegation. And up above it is a Ruby Falls redbud. The leaves are just coming out now, and it bloomed really nicely earlier this spring. Now in front of this June hosta, you'll see some spiderwort, and I did include spiderwort in an earlier video about garden thugs. This particular one, which is a very purplish blue color, doesn't seem quite as invasive as the pink variety that I had in here, which I've been trying to get rid of for years. Still a very invasive plant and one you have to watch out for. Some more iris, a stilby. Again, pots waiting to be filled. I'm thinking another week before I start doing that. And here's some more heuchera. This one is Purple Palace. This one I have very, very good luck with. In fact, I think I may pull a few of these out and move them to the other side where the other hosta are. And then, of course, lamium is a wonderful thing for a shade garden. Now, this hosta is a blue angel. This one gets huge. It really fills in the space. We also have some boxwood in here. This is a green mountain boxwood. It does very well, despite the fact that it only gets maybe a couple hours of morning sun. It's bright here otherwise. And underneath it is one of our native heuchera. You can see that there are flower stalks that have come up. They haven't opened yet, but when they do, there'll be a bright coral colored flower, which is perhaps where they got the name coral bells. Now on the porch we have some Boston ferns, and I actually wintered these over from last year. I wasn't going to. I thought they'd be a lot of trouble and I was worried about them shedding a lot, and it wasn't actually that bad. They're big though, so you have to have a spot to put them because they do need some at least bright light. I did cut them back quite a bit when I brought them in, but they did just fine. And as I always try to do, I did pick up some nice begonia for the front in a color that sort of matches my front door. Once again, that little bit of fresh bark mulch, wow, that really makes the plants pop. Now this corner gets a little more sun than the rest of the front yard. Once again, some nice Japanese painted fern, and also there's a volunteer Japanese maple coming up here in the midst of this heuchera, which I'm going to have to dig up. But this one's very interesting. It has a large leaf, interesting color. Maybe I'll put it in a pot and see what it does. More green mountain boxwood, and here is more coast Lakothaway. And I really, really like the way the new growth looks. Now when this Lakothaway gets too big, I just cut it right back to the ground early in the spring and let it come back up. We have a Connecticut slate dwarf white pine here, which obviously needs a little more sun, but it's doing just fine. And some more Lakothaway here in bloom. Now this area is shaded by some very, very large evergreens. We've got a golden arborvitae here and a king's gold chamaecyparis, both of which have got to be 30 feet tall at this point. And in their shade we have some very nice hydrangea. This one is a blushing bride. You can see that it looks beautiful. We've got plenty of buds for the year. This one is remontant. It's one that does bloom on old and new, but it made it through the winter just fine, so we're going to get plenty of early blooms. There is a fairy rose that's been in here for, my gosh, close to 30 years, and it looks a little bit straggly, but you know, it blooms in here every year, which is surprising. And behind it is the original everlasting summer hydrangea. And once again, this one is loaded with beautiful flower buds. We're working on getting the area in the front here mulched as well. But again, it makes the plants really pop out. We've got some lovely Hakona Cloa grass here. This is all in the shade of a very, very large bloodgood Japanese maple. We actually created this bed maybe about 5 years ago because the shade of the maple and a kusa dogwood just made it impossible for the grass to grow any longer. But I'm really happy with how this came out, and we're gradually filling it in. The Hakona Cloa grass really makes the color pop here. I've also been working to establish some hellebores in this area, and those are looking just fine. You may notice a patch where there is no mulch. That's because there were some columbine planted there last year, came back up, and I noticed as I was mulching that there's tiny little columbine seedlings coming up all throughout it. The other plant that I'm putting in here, and I need to put more, is lamium. This has done very, very well here. And this one is pink chablis. It will have lovely pink flowers a little later in the season. We also recently added some pulmonaria to this. I have a little bit of a fence around here just so the deer don't come tromping through it. It's supposed to be a deer-resistant plant, and I have some in the backyard, and it has proven to be quite resistant, so I feel pretty comfortable putting it here. And of course, some more Hakona Cloa grass. We've also popped in some Brunnera, or Brunnera. This one is Alexander's Great. Now, the one that's in the center, the larger one, we bought at a local garden center. The little tiny ones were ones that we got from Breck's as bare root. A little disappointed. I love Breck's for their bulbs, but these bare root plants were really skimpy. We'll see. We'll see what they do. Some daffodils finishing here. And of course a stilby. Now there is a oak leaf hydrangea in here, and this one is going to have to get moved. The deer just won't leave this poor thing alone. So I think I'm going to have to find another spot for it where it can be better protected. But again, the idea of the plants really popping out with the mulch, you can see the difference between the area that has not been mulched yet and the area we've gotten some mulch down. Now granted, the mulch does lose its color over the course of the season, but for at least the first half of the season, it will look absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm kind of a fanatic about using good quality bark mulch, and that's what we have here. We have a tarp on it because we're supposed to get some big rain coming, but this is a really, really nice, very good quality all bark mulch. Now I don't mind using the cheap bagged mulches as pathway mulch, but I don't like using that around my plants. I'd rather have something that is at least partially aged so that it's a little bit composted. Some of these other mulches that you buy, may have construction debris in them. They may have shredded pallets in them. And even if it's just shredded wood, the problem with that is that it takes nitrogen out of the soil as it decomposes, whereas this kind of a mulch, something that's a really good aged mulch, is actually going to give nutrients back into the soil instead. I hope you enjoyed your visit with us today, and if you like this kind of content, by all means please press the like button and perhaps consider subscribing. In the meantime, I hope that you have a wonderful day in the garden.